Joining us now for an in-depth look at the 2020 election, including what worked and what didn't, is Nancy Mace, the representative-elect for South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. So Nancy, first, I want to say congratulations on your victory, because that was a traditionally red seat that went blue back in 2018, and then you managed to flip it in a crucial year for Republicans. So I want to ask you, how did you do it?
Well, we certainly made possible what so many said was going to be impossible this year. But I got to tell you, I believe what worked for us and what helped us succeed is that we just simply outworked my opponent. In fact, I personally knocked on 1,000 doors the last week of the race. We had an enormous grassroots ground operation. I was fundraising. We did all the things that you need to do to win, especially this year. And we saw so many seats across the country. Really, the untold story this cycle are all the Republicans, especially Republican women, that flipped seats from blue to red. And we're going to have an amazing freshman class. And there are still races that are waiting to be called, and we're seeing them come in our direction. So it's pretty awesome to be a part of history and to watch and witness.
Absolutely, and I do want to build on that point, because as of right now, it looks like Republicans will have 26 females in the House of Representatives. That is almost twice as many as they have right now. And not only that, but they came in crucial swing districts as well. I believe it was 7 seats were flipped by Republican women this election cycle. So is that key to the GOP's future success, is diversifying the party a little bit?
I believe so. And I know that as conservatives, I've met so many of these women in the last 48 hours during freshman orientation, and they're fighters. And I believe as Republicans over the last couple of years, we haven't done as good a job as we could have with our conservative ideology, because we know that our conservative ideas are really compassionate ideas. And I tried to articulate that as best I could throughout the primary and the general election cycle. And that was a winning message. And for not only for me, but for all these women, dozens of women across the country.
And what I noticed about your campaign, too, is that it was a conservative message, but it was also very much so specific to the state and the district that you're in. And I think that's very important as well. We see a lot of Democrats trying to nationalize the issue, for example, and I think sometimes they fall into a trap of not speaking directly to the constituents that they need to win those votes for. But when I look at your resume, for example, you were the first woman to graduate from the Citadel Military College in South Carolina. You're the first Republican woman elected to Congress from South Carolina. You're breaking barriers all over the place. So what do you want to do in Congress once you do get there?
Well, I first want to say, too, that Democrat women don't have a monopoly on women breaking glass ceilings. If you were to believe some of the mainstream press, we don't get Glamour magazine or Cosmopolitan or any of those places. They're the supporting and promoting the socialist squad. But we've been breaking glass ceilings and breaking barriers all our life. But this year, all politics is really local. And South Carolina, this congressional district, we have an unemployment rate of 5%. We've been able to balance keeping our economy running, our economic engine going, with the health and safety of our residents and communities. And so we've done a great job. But we've got to continue to support our small businesses, because over half of all new jobs in that district are as a result of small businesses. And the other thing that we've got to work on is infrastructure and transportation. South Carolina's 1st congressional district has a port. As people are calling as I'm doing this, so I'm trying to make sure. But transportation and infrastructure is a big one. Healthcare is another one. We've got to ensure that we protect people with pre-existing conditions. And if we're able to repeal Obamacare, have something in place that's competition-based, free market-based, so we can support hardworking families. But this particular district is all along the coast of the southern part of South Carolina. So it's a beach community. And so when the president banned offshore drilling for 10 years, when he put the moratorium in place off South Carolina's coast, it was a huge success. And we've got to continue that as we go forward in the future.
And I hear that frequently from a lot of Republicans, especially in places like South Carolina, places like Florida as well, is that conservation actually is a big issue. I remember in the 2018 midterms, for example, there was an algae issue in Florida, and that may have given Republicans that Senate seat there. So oftentimes it is overlooked. Is the Republican Party becoming a little bit more modern in that sense? We talked about that. It's putting more women out there. It's diversifying a little bit more. But is it starting to change its views in order to meet the constituents?
I not necessarily changing his views. I see a lot of Republicans doing that. And for me, I talk to a lot of young Republicans, and they believe in climate. And they want to see us doing something about it. And there's no doubt that we have pollution and that we've got to address some of these issues. I know along Charleston, our sea levels are rising, and the infrastructure with the development we've had has made the flooding issues and the environmental issues worse. And so there are Republicans out there that want to work together and do something about it. And we have an opportunity to this cycle.
Yeah, and once again, I want to congratulate you on your victory. It looks like
Yeah.
you have a very bright future ahead of you, and you are
Thank
making
you.
some national attention as well, not just in South Carolina, but I think it's the way that you won this race that is very important and a message that Republicans can take with them moving forward. But Nancy Mace, once again, congratulations, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. My website is nancymace.org if anyone wants to learn more.
Once again, thank you very much, Nancy Mace in South Carolina. Take care, Nancy.
Thank you.